I'd like to talk about racism for a minute. I want to talk about racism in general, but I'm going to use a reference relating to the medicine that I practice, which I have devoted my life to because it devoted itself to me. I absolutely love East Asian medicine, often called Chinese medicine. People in this country are called licensed acupuncturists or doctors. It depends on the state. Licenses, like your actual license, so even if your title's LAC, a license can designate you as a PCP, as a physician. In many states they do. We're short on physicians in this country, and also the work involved, the study involved, the history involved, and the lobbies, the boards that we have. These places all know, as does our federal government, they support this educational field through funding, not through support and systemic support. We're not included as a whole into the medical healthcare system, right? You don't have an East Asian wing of a hospital. But when I came out of school, so this is a story time, so bear with me. So when I came out of school, and for reference, my heritage, my ethnicity, in the main chunks is Italian, English, and German. I'm sure there's other things mixed in there. I've never gotten my stuff done, but that's what I know. And my family were immigrants. On one side of the family, I'm 14th generation, so it goes way far back. And on others that I'm aware of, I am second generation. Yeah, second, maybe third. More traditional immigrant American families. But I didn't grow up thinking of myself as an immigrant. We grew up thinking of ourselves as white. White is a crafted identity, as far as I'm talking about it, in the United States of America. Whiteness, to erase, to whiten, to take away ethnicity, to take away history, to take away practices of eating, celebrations, health, the connection to our food, how we commune as a family, as a community, as a society, to whitewash that away, to wipe it away, and now we are white, we are American. We are none of those things from the past. So because this is a concept that's unique to the United States in many ways, in a modern, there's no other place on earth where that exists in such large ways. Colonialism, right? So colonies being set up in places where people aren't native and taking over, trying to help define some of these words if people haven't looked into them. That's where you kind of see these concepts of whiteness as well. Okay. And as many people have said on here, blackness is a different thing because black people were deprived of their history. They didn't immigrate. Okay. So blackness is a unique identity to the United States of America, and black culture as a result in America is incredibly unique. And when I came out of school in Chinese medicine, which I later came to say more frequently East Asian medicine, as a respect to the teachers and the lineage of the medicine that I study, because it comes from Korea, it comes from Japan, it comes from other areas, I'm sure, as well, but also China. So China has a big collection of history, rich history, but many of the philosophers and doctors and teachers came from other East Asian countries. So I say East Asian medicine. There are some other places that say it. You will hear the word Oriental. My degree actually is called a master's in Oriental medicine. It's not a master's, by the way. They've changed what it's called. And I say that because it's a 4-year medical program from start to end of the year, so full year. If you decide to not go full time, it can take 6 to 8 years to go through the program. So it's a full medical program. It's just focused on Chinese medicine with a background in Western medicine so that we can be primary care, so that we can recognize things. So we have pathophysiology and, the sciences and all that stuff, physical examination. We do a lot of that in Chinese medicine. But when I came out into society, educated in this, I was already in my late 30s, and I had already had work in corporate America. I knew I had to market myself, and I knew that I would have to talk to people in a way that was now new because I had a new skill and I was starting a new business because there really weren't places to apply for jobs. And the few jobs that there are, I wasn't willing to fight for and be a part of those environments. I didn't want to be a token person or the only person in a Western environment. If I had to work on my own, then that's what I would do. I prefer to work in a hospital like they do in China and Korea and other places in the world. And they have entire wings or entire hospitals that are made of herbalists and people who do all the things that Chinese medical providers do. But we don't have that here. So we have to do it on our own. So there's a lot of weight on our shoulders, not just to treat the patients who come before us, but to educate people in understanding how this works. That's what I think, because this medicine needs to grow again, especially in this country. And one of the issues that gets in the way is racism, inherent racism, unexamined racism, felt racism, right? When we have a feeling about someone, when we see them, and often we're ashamed or embarrassed of that because we think, I'm not racist, but why do I feel this way? Or why am I thinking these thoughts? Because they've been implanted there. Because they've been implanted there. And as a result, many times when I talk about this medicine, when people aren't really interested, or they're just there to be skeptical, or they're already closed, right? They're there to shut you down and disqualify you. And when those walls are up and you start to speak in this language, people think of it as something that's very woo-woo, which that word is actually very interesting. Woo has a meaning in Chinese medicine. It means empty, the empty center of the heart, right? The heart wouldn't work if it didn't have empty chambers there for blood to pump through, in and out. A canvas is blank, empty. You can't make art without an empty canvas. The empty page where a story is created, you have to have emptiness for life to occur. Woo-woo. So even when we say woo-woo, empty space for creation, for life to happen. So sure, woo-woo. I stopped saying woo-woo years ago because I finally developed the absolute deserved respect that this medicine has. But working through racism isn't about lecturing people that they're racist. It's about working through unexamined feelings and thoughts, which is a part of healthcare. That's also a part of being a provider. It's also part of getting to know people. So East Asian medicine is one way that I do it, both as a sign of respect and to avoid the word Chinese, because people have a lot of feelings about that word. Chinese, China, right? We have feelings because they've been put there, not because we've necessarily examined them deeply. And like any culture, like any place on earth, especially a place like China, so old, such a rich history, there's a lot of stories. There's just a lot of stories, a lot of history, and we can build up unexamined bias. So I have to work through that in a non-confrontational, subconscious way. And then you have the medicine itself. People have to be ready for it, but the language is not familiar. There are words that don't translate. They are conceptual. And people don't think of their health in a conceptual way. People think of it in a black and white way, like it's a machine, like it's a math problem. Like if we just plug in the right numbers, the right solution will come out and it'll all be done, right? Like a surgery, we do the surgery and it's all better. How many of you have had surgery? How many of you know that's not always true? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's the only answer left and it saves your life, and that's freaking great. Like I often say, Western medicine is great at intervention when we've become sick. It's great at emergency care and saving lives. Like it does miraculous things that way. But we'd like to move away as a society. We need to move away as a society from having to perform so many miracles because we're all too sick. And most of the patients that I get are chronically ill. They have what I call knotty diseases where there's knot upon knot upon knot. And where do you start? We have answers for that. We're holistically trained. Now, ideally, we are best suited as teachers and partners. We teach the communities, we teach the children, we teach the parents to teach the children so that we raise communities that are more body aware, more health aware, more community aware. And this brings me back to whiteness. This brings me back to how our ethnicities and our heritage and our habits and our health and our connection to food and our bodies and the remedies, the home remedies that have all been stripped from us, so that we can professionalize medicine, so we can be distanced from it and it becomes someone else's job and power and not our own. That's not true. And this is connected to racism in America. And this is how all of these things find intersections. It's why you really do need to know. You really do need to open your mind. Stop closing your mind. Stop saying it doesn't matter. Ask questions. Be curious. All of these things intersect. The issues of today are the issues of our health. It's why we're all so sick. Okay, I'm going to start teaching classes soon. I'm planning it this week. Stay tuned.